All right, and it says that this hangout is live. Peace and power, family. Welcome to Tea Talk with the Sisterhood. We meet every Wednesday from 1 p.m. until to discuss issues that are on the minds of the sisters. So welcome to Tea Talk with the Sisters. We're here every Wednesday again from 1 p.m. until to discuss issues that are on of the sisterhood. Before we get started, I would like for the panel to introduce themselves to the listening audience, but I don't want the guest to introduce himself. We want to introduce him to you all. But sisters, please introduce yourselves to all of the viewers.
Hey, peace and power, everybody. This is Monica Lamb. They call me Mo, and I'm with Tri-City Visionaries, and we aim out to help businesses organize, train businesses on how to organize and manage their business, as well as teach nonprofit organizations on their filings. And we also help high school students transition from college, universities, technical, or the military by helping them practice their ACT, SAT, or ASVAB testing. If you want to look for us or find us, you can always find us on Wednesday at 6 with the Dagger Squad, 1-800-518-2817, extension 901, or you could just inbox us on Facebook. Peace, everybody.
Sister Cheryl, Sister Raziki.
Hello, my name is Cheryl Stevenson, and I assist people with getting government contracts as well as doing subcontracting with people. I also train you in how to do drop shipping. I work very closely with Monica with the Dagger Squad. If you want to find out any additional information, you can catch me on my website at stevensonbusinesssolutions.com.
Peace and love, family. This is your celestial sister / sacred sexpert, Raziki Zafira, also the other half of Nature's Crown International. We are a eco-friendly company that bases our agricultural and green pursuits in technology. Okay, moving right along.
All right. Peace and power. And I brag about you guys every chance that I get. I brag about the panel of sisters that we have, each and every Wednesday. I don't really think that the viewers understand just how powerful this panel of sisters, how powerful the panel is, to be quite frank. I mean, I know that Sister Monica and Sister Cheryl have been helping plenty of brothers in the community, brothers and sisters in the community, start their own businesses and even acquire funding for these businesses. And that's very powerful because we preach, Black empowerment, but, to empower yourself, we have to practice Black economics. And in practicing Black economics, we have to start establishing businesses, learn how to establish businesses and conduct business. And that's what these sisters are doing. So I just applaud, the work that they're doing in the community. I also applaud the work that Sister Raziki L is doing in the community. When I was in Atlanta, Georgia at the Apex Museum, I mean, that sister was bragging about you. I believe her name is Sister Zima.
Mm-hmm.
Is her name?
Yeah.
She was like, yeah, your sister was just here, last week. She was talking about healing with the babies. So you're out in the community doing work. You're overseas, buying up land. I believe that Nature's Crown owns acres of land in Kenya. Is that correct?
Correct, yes.
You guys are cultivating land right now and then growing vegetables and fruits and herbs and giving us another source for food.
Absolutely.
And that's, to me, that's Black power. Since we want to yell Black power, being able to feed ourselves, Black power. And so you guys are buying up acres over in Kenya. You're going back and forth all across Africa. I believe you guys went to Tanzania as well. Is that
correct? Tia did go to Tanzania. I wasn't on that trip, but
you guys
I'm there, so yeah.
Oh yeah. So, you guys are going over to Tanzania and Kenya, buying up acres of land over there, cultivating that land with fruits, vegetables, and herbs. And just giving us another, resource or another source for food.
Absolutely.
And so and also teaching the babies and training the babies and teaching the babies agriculture. So what you're doing, Sister Raziki, is very, very vital to the community, sis. And I just applaud you and I thank you. And I hope you know that you're much appreciated. You know, and I know I've been talking about everybody else, but my name is Dr. Oyama. I am the co-founder and president of Ed Anime Productions. And we are a Black-owned and operated company based in Baltimore City that creates educational tools for children. We target, however, you know, children of color, but we're targeting all children, but we specialize in targeting, of course, children of color. So we have a series called Meltrek. You can go to Ed Anime Productions and check out that. It's our first animated series that explores African history from an African perspective. And so I believe that all children of color should have Meltrek in their collection. I mean, they are exposed in this series to powerful, powerful images of African people. And you will be amazed at what imagery does to the self-esteem of Black children. So whenever you get a chance, please go to Ed Anime Productions, support the Meltrek project. Right now, we're working on something with PBS. Hopefully, they're going to air it next year. So we're working on that deal as we speak. So Meltrek is definitely on the move. You can, if you somehow can't access the website, you can simply Google Meltrek, MELTREK, in the search engine, and the website should pop up, as well as YouTube links to check out clips from the video. So anyway, last but not least, we got to introduce our guest of today. We have with us my big brother in African spirituality, Minister Dennis Assar Winkler from Temple of New African Thought, which is based in Baltimore City. So thank you so much, Brother Minister Assar, for joining us today. This brother is he's one of the giants in the Baltimore community. Not only is he the member or the co-founder of the Temple of New African Thought, this brother is an entrepreneur. He's known for real estate. This brother's been buying up property, selling property, renting property. And so, you know, after the show, you might want to get his contact information if you're interested in acquiring real estate. But he's also a realtor, and he owns his own company dealing with that. He's a father. He's, I believe, an author. Aren't you a writer also, Minister Assar? I want to say author, right? You writing also, right?
Well, I do write. I do have some real estate manuals and books as well. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. And so this brother has joined us today to discuss an Afrocentric approach to healing from white oppression. And so before we get started, I would like to show the flyer. This is going to be centered around, and let me share my screen. Hold on 1 second. This discussion is centered around an event that's going to take place in Baltimore on June the 10th. Hold on, let me share my screen. Share my screen. Okay, can everyone see my screen? Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. All right, cool. So this event is going down on Saturday, June the 10th. At the Temple of New African Thought, located at 3221 Bel Air Road. Okay, it's going to start at 4 p.m. It's from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Doors are going to open promptly at 3:30. So Brother Dennis, Brother Assar is going to do a presentation on white oppression, Black trauma, and Afrocentric approach to healing. And I know that Sister Riziki is really, really big on healing, because we run around and we talk about unifying and we talk about Black power or Black empowerment, but we have to realize that we are a sick people. We are spiritually, mentally, and physically sick. So how can we unite, or how can and acquire power if we're sick? The first step to acquiring power and unifying is to heal from the trauma. The stuff that you see in the streets, I've been looking at Facebook and, you know, media takeout and World Star Hip Hop, and I'm seeing these videos go viral of young people beating each other up, young people beating up older people, you know, beating up younger people, people just in general degrading themselves. These are the symptoms. These are the effects of trauma. These are the effects of white oppression. And there's no way that we can unify or heal from any of unify or acquire power while we are sick. And so the first step is to healing. And people say, well, what kind of healing? How do I heal? Do I meditate? You know, do I meditate? Do I do the yoni thing, the crystals? How do I heal? People need to heal. How do I heal? Well, Brother Minister Assar today is going to discuss with us an Afrocentric approach to healing. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to my brother, my big brother in African spirituality, Brother Minister Dennis Assar Winkler.
Peace and power, family.
Well,
I think the sisters, I can hear myself back. I'm not sure if you guys hear feedback.
Oh no, you sound perfect. You sound perfect.
I sound good? Okay,
yeah.
Thank you. All right, so I want to thank Dr. Maya and the sisters for allowing me to come into the sacred circle today. The sacred circle, sisters with the tea talk. I am a fan. I have my tea a lot of times. You know, I sit with you. You guys don't know, but I'm having my tea as you're having your tea. But nonetheless, so where was I going? I want to say again, thank you for allowing me to come on the platform, and I want to give our praise, honor, respect to our ancestors and the creative force of the universe. So how do we go from here, Dr. Maya?
Hey, you said it. Let's give praises. That's what we normally do. We start off with venerating our ancestors, and so you just kicked it off. You just kicked it off with a veneration of our ancestors. So one by one, you know, let's call out some names and let's respond with Ashe. So we always begin usually the tea talks with ancestor veneration, and so just call out some names and we respond with Ashe. The first name I would like to call is the name of Dr. Francis Cress Welsing.
Ashe.
Ashe.
And in the spirit of healing, I like to call out Dr. Sabi.
Oh, Ashe.
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 Anybody else? Sister Cheryl, Sister Monica? I think they're on mute.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was on mute. We venerating ancestors?
Yes, ma'am.
What past and present, or just Luella Forbes,
Ashe.
Ashe.
Johnny Root Savoy,
Ashe.
Ashe.
Thelma Mott.
Ashe. Anybody else? Sister Cheryl, would you like to call a name?
Gertrude Harris.
Ashe.
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 I like to say Dr. Amos Wilson. May he walk with us.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Ashe. All right. So moving on. I mean, we can do hot topics or we can go straight into the topic. I actually would like to go straight into the topic.
Me too.
Because I've been looking forward to this. We've been trying to organize this for the last couple of weeks. And so I'm just kind of, you know, I'm just looking forward. I got my piece of paper right here and my pad. And, you know, every time every time I connect with Minister Ausar, I always walk away with something. I always take something away from conversations that he and I have, whether it's in passing, whether it's a text, whether it's a phone call, whether it's me watching one of his shows, because he also has a show on the Conscious Black Business Network. Powerful shows. Sometimes they go live at the Temple of New African Thought on Sundays at 11 a.m. So, you know, each time that I watch this brother or I listen to this brother, I always take something away from his conversation or his presentations. So I'm just looking forward to this discourse, and let's go in. I'm ready to go in. Let's talk about it. Why do you think, do you guys think that healing is essential to Black unification and Black empowerment?
Absolutely.
I mean, I know it was a rhetorical question.
Yes, definitely. Because,
the whole panel.
yeah, definitely. Because if you are worried about, if you have things on your mind, or you have some depression, anxiety, or maybe some type of health issue, or in general, you're not going to be as healthy. And it's the smallest things that can hinder, from a healing perspective, from you being productive. So we need everybody to be, you know, strong from a mental perspective and a physical perspective.
Very true. And then two, healing has a lot to do with why we're not able to build healthy relationships, not just on a personal level, but also in business. And, you know, being able to work in unity to actually get a job done or, you know, a specific purpose done. We're not able to remove ego, remove past hurt, distrust. So yeah, the relationship building is very essential.
Ashe.
Yeah, so we need to hear a lot of the stuff that we're seeing right now. I'm telling you, on social media, out here in your immediate environment, these are the effects. You know, these are the effects of our traumatic experiences. You know, talking about as a people. And so we definitely need to heal. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I didn't see the importance in healing initially. Everything was, come on, you know, we need to start Black businesses. We need to do this. We need to do that. We need to do this. And I never thought about healing until I started watching a lot of lectures by Dr. Amos Wilson, started listening to Minister Ausar, hooked up with my girl, Sister Riziki. I didn't see the importance of it. Listening to Sister Zaza Ali, you know, I didn't get it. I was just like, come on, we need to unite. We need to start businesses. We need to heal, you know, not heal, but we need to resurrect the Black family, and we need to do all of these things. But it never dawned on me that we can't do all of these things with broken people. You know, we need to practice Black economics, you know, group economics, Black economics. But we cannot, you know, Sister Monica helped me to understand that economics is based on relationships. And so if you don't know how to have a healthy relationship with a person, there's no way we can practice group economics. So, you know, all that ties into healing, you know, strengthening the Black family. Well, we can't have strong Black families if we're not healed. You got two broken people getting together trying to make something work. It's not going to work until we heal. And so I've come to learn in the last year or so that healing is very vital. Is very vital to Black empowerment. It's very vital to Black unification and Black progression. So go ahead, Minister. So I'm ready for you to get it on in.
Ashe. So I am definitely 100% in accordance with everybody who spoke so far. Healing is of utmost necessity. Dr. Naim Akbar, this is what he said in a book, Breaking Chains of Psychological Slavery. He said that, I'm just going to quote him verbatim here. He says, the political, economic, military, and even intellectual struggles have been fought and won to the point that we can expect solutions from those arenas. Did y'all hear me? He said that we fought we can't go any further at this point, not until we must now understand that any future process in those arenas or in any other arena of human activity can only occur when we have purposely liberated our minds. So he's saying, he's positive that there's a psychological trauma that's taking place in our minds. He actually, in his book, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery, he says this is a type of post-traumatic slave syndrome or post-traumatic stress syndrome, which he calls post-traumatic slave syndrome. And this is true. Dr. Amos Wilson, I mean, I'm just getting warm here because I got to bring the ancestors in. I think the best way to bring the ancestors in, personally myself, is by quoting them, by referencing them, by citing them. And Dr. Amos Wilson is Dr. Mayat favorite quote says, he says this: consciousness refers to a level of physiological and psychological arousal, which permits the individual to be conscious or aware of his or her internal and external environment and facilitates to regulate, listen here, to regulate his or her cognitive mind and behavioral behind capabilities towards achieving goals he or she finds desirable. So what are we talking about? We have to be conscious. Dr. Naim Akbar speaks about we have to have a conscious awakening. We have to we have to deal with our mind. So the last thing that Dr. Amos Wilson speaks about in this particular excerpt I have here is consciousness is a type of active intelligence. So what he's pretty much saying is that consciousness is about what you do just as much as it is about what you know. And we know that we have a lot of people. I'd be remiss if I say I'm not starting any trouble. I won't name any names, but I don't look at social media as much as I used to. I don't even host my show as much as I used to, just because I have to get away from the psychological trauma that I see going on over the internet on a daily basis. I'm seeing stuff going on right now that's just, I don't even tune in anymore because it's foolishness. And what it is trauma being played out on the world stage. I'm telling you, in the conscious community. So we're talking about trauma. The conscious community are those traumatized people. Now, I'm not going to say everybody, but I'm just saying what I'm seeing here, what people call the conscious community, are those traumatized people who have been supposedly freed by the chains of what they call pseudoscience, and now acting like more ignorant people, acting more uncivil, acting more savage than what they were when they were in the church or when they were in the mosque or when they were practicing whatever they were practicing. So we can't put down a thing unless we can pick up a thing. And I'm going to posit that thing has to be grounded in our culture, and that's very important, because there's people out here that state that Afrocentricity doing. What is Black consciousness doing? I mean, there's a lot of research that supports that Afrocentricity, African-centered thought, a proper racial socialization process is necessary when we're dealing with this. So we can talk about that a little bit more. But and what I'm saying is, I want to go back. It was something you were saying, Dr. Mayat. Trauma and Sister Riziki. Trauma is real, and what's going on in these relationships is this. We can't have a proper relationship when we're dealing with trauma, because trauma, or we talk about post-traumatic, when we're dealing with things to trigger us, to remind us of the past, we feel threatened. So if I had a relationship with someone and they took advantage of me, let's say it was a female, and when I see Dr. Mayat and she comes around, I feel threatened, although Dr. Mayat means well.
Wait, are you breaking up, bruh? Is anyone else Because I'm trying to hear every.
No. I hear him fine. Sorry,
brother. Go ahead. Okay. I'm trying to.
No problem. Thank you, sister.
Okay.
So that's a threat. So we are at a hyper state of being alert. So how do we? So we can't trust each other because our brain is out of whack. We can't trust each other because our amygdala is operating and giving us all this false sensory. We got this thing called a thymus gland in our brain, which takes in all the sensory information, and it sends it to the amygdala. But if the amygdala is saying something is wrong, it's saying alert, 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 alert. It sends it down to the hypothalamus, and it sends it through our body, and we're in a constant state of fight, flight, faint, or freeze. So this is what we have in our community. We have people who are fighting all the time. We have people who are running all the time. We have people who are fainted, and we have people who are frozen. So this is what we're dealing with. And this is why we see people say, look, I checked out. That's what you call freeze or faint. We're talking about people who fighting all the time. This is what we see on social media. Nobody trusts nobody. In fact, let me say this. And then at some point, we just become so apathetic. We start to look at these people on social media as if they are somehow leaders, because we're vicariously trying to live through them because we in a state of apathy. So definitely, So our brain, let's get back to that. Our brain is not reading things right. So we don't figure out how can we heal this thing. We have to rewire our neural pathways. If we don't rewire them, guess what's going to happen? It's like habits. We're going to continuously respond in unhealthy ways, even though we're in healthy environments. If we're in healthy environments and we're still responding as if we're in unhealthy environments, this becomes what is known in social science as maladaptive. It becomes maladaptive, meaning that we are operating in ways that harm us rather than help us. So this is what's going on in our relationships on a daily basis. I've had students and so on and so forth in some places where I counsel at, and basically you can remove us out of an environment, but the truth is we bring that sickness with us to the environment where we are. Going on, we go into these environments and they can be totally safe environments, but what happens is we still respond like we're in the streets, and that's what we see in social media again. We're still responding like we're in the streets, and we think we're going to grow. And then when we use drugs, I'm not going to go. We use drugs to cope with these things. We use all types of things to cope with these things, besides going through a proper healing process. When people are using drugs or utilizing drugs, they are self-medicating, and many times they don't even know they're self-medicating. But these same people will, and I've been checking out Sister Riziki, and I know Dr. Mayat really well, as you know, to calling things pseudo. Because I'm a scientist for real, but I do understand that some things you cannot quantify or qualify. You can't do that, right? But now the reason why people feel that everything, you know, now some people want everything to be quantified or qualified, or you have to do a study. We can't do that, but we can measure that it is helping. We can measure that there's some results from these things. So I think in our community, again, we're still using Western mindset when we start throwing this whole pseudo versus science at our fight. That's their fight. They've been calling us pseudos forever. African spiritual, I don't care how you try to clean it up and make it total science and verifiable. No, it's not that. You can't verify everything. There are things past. I'm sorry, dear.
No, I was just saying, and not to cut your wisdom, but what you're saying is very important, and I feel like it's a reason why we also run away from things that could help us.
Absolutely.
And I was just confused because, you know, I would see these charts going around on social media say, hey, if something fits this criteria, it's known as science. If something fits this criteria, it's known as pseudo. And when I'm looking at this and I'm saying, well, hey, doesn't some of these African traditions fit under this pseudo list? So how can you differentiate, you know, like, because it's of a different culture? Did that make sense?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I said absolutely. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he said absolutely.
Okay. No, I was just speaking to your point. Like, so would you are confirming that some of the African traditions were also known as pseudo?
That's who they call our stuff pseudo. That's what they call. They call African traditional practice anything that you can't measure, but that you say it does this because of this, then you call it pseudo because you can't support it. But I do think there has to be balance. This is something called Mayat. You understand? Some of us go way out there, and then we try to infringe our views and our beliefs on other people, and then it can become pseudo. Some people, they too far out there. But I'm saying is, I think it's all about balance. Because right now, even the West. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Minister.
You say right now, even the what?
The West. Those in the West. I'm talking about white folks, the ones we talk about so much. They realize that this stuff that they've been doing for all these years aren't serving them. That's why they have yoga retreats. That's why they at Druid Hill Park playing the drums with our people. That's why they out there trying to do everything other than being they're trying to tap into other people's cultures, because that which we are calling pseudo, they realize there are some medicinal or healing properties in these things.
I see.
So what would you consider, Minister Assar, you said an Afrocentric approach to healing. What would be considered an Afrocentric approach to healing? Because normally when people think of healing, they think of being medicated. They say, okay, well, let me go see a psychologist or a psychiatrist or a therapist and vent about my problems. I mean, I'm just telling you what comes to mind of in the Western world. When you say, look, I'm in need of some healing or some mental healing, people say, okay, see a doctor. And so we run to the doctor and we talk to the doctor about our mental health or our physical health. And so when you say an Afrocentric approach to healing, what do you mean? I mean, do you mean an approach that is, conducive to the healing of African people. I mean, what do you mean an Afrocentric approach to healing, and what are Afrocentric approaches to healing?
Okay. That's a very good question. I'm going to say it like this. I'm a thinker, so sometimes I go outside the box. So excuse me if I go there. I'm not saying I'm
go outside the box.
So I know people have a definition. I'm going to come with a definition a little while later. But to me personally, and that assists African people or Black people or Moorish people or however you want to name yourself, whatever it does, whatever it is that we can utilize, to help us win this war that has been waged upon us. Anything, everything. I'm not one that's going to close my eyes because the white man came up with it. I'm not one that's going to close my mind because the Asian man did it, because I have a problem with that. Because if we say we are the founders, the fathers, the mothers of civilization, and we created everything, then how can you give it back to them? So what I'm saying is we're just taking back what's ours. However, I'll go into what Dr. Malefi Asante, he's an elder, he's still living, but I'm going to bring him to the stand. And what he says is Afrocentricity. We got to deal with Afrocentricity first. His definition of Afrocentricity in his book, Afrocentricity, he says Afrocentricity is a mode of thought in which the centrality of African interests, values, and perspective predominate in regards to theory. He said it is placing African people in the center of any analysis or African phenomenon. So it's coming from the center, he's saying. So no matter what it is, you have to put African people in the center of it. This is what he's saying. Thus, it is possible for anyone to master the discipline of seeking the location of Africans in a given phenomenon. In terms of action and behavior, it is a devotion to the idea that what is the best interest of African consciousness is at the heart of ethical behavior. Finally, Afrocentricity seeks to enshrine the idea that Blackness itself is the trope of ethics. Thus, to be Black is to be against all forms of oppression, racism, classism, homophobia, patriarchy, child abuse, pedophilia, and white racial domination. So anything that's against, anything that's for essentially that will uplift the Black man and woman and family. So
can you please give me the reference for that, reference and page number for that? I have the book actually, but what is the
Afrocentricity? What's the name of his book? Hold on, let me see. All right, I got the book. Matter of fact, right here. I'm glad I put him up here. Afrocentricity, page 20. All right.
All right. Love it. And what was the page number for? It was a quote you made earlier from Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery by Dr. Naeem Akbar. What page was that on? I think
Dr. Akbar is so powerful. I don't even know if that made it to a page. Hold on, let me see. I think that's some Roman numeral stuff there. That is 3, Roman numeral 3. That's in his introduction.
The intro. Okay, cool. Cool. So, okay, thank you for explaining the Afrocentric approach. Now, what would you say? Can you name an approach? I know that a lot of brothers will meditate. We talk about meditation. Sister Riziki, she talks about healing through. She talks about sexual healing through tantra. I mean, so give me some approaches, Afrocentric approaches to healing. What would you say that they are, if you had to name some? Okay, so an Afrocentric approach, and I'm not going to go so deep into it just because I want people to come out to the presentation, right? Mm-hmm. But this is what I will say. As I stated earlier, anything that will uplift Black people. So let me go forward with that. I'm going to say this first and foremost. I'm going to say we have so many Black social scientists or psychologists, counselors, pastoral counselors, social workers, whatever, right? If you look, some of us need to go that, and some of us need to go there, really, and deal with the trauma
I'm saying really the trauma. I'm saying really deal with it, not just the trauma that we have inherited genetically or epigenetically. I'm talking about the trauma that we just experienced last week. Not the trauma that the white man when he killed Freddie Gray. I'm talking about the trauma that inflicted the trauma on your family with it having your man smack you or your woman smack you or whatever. I'm talking about we have to deal with these things. So I'm saying go with an African-centered counselor of some sort first. I mean, that's one way, right? Let's deal with that. Let's do that. That we have like Mama Cambone, Dr. Cambone's wife. I can't remember her name right now. We have Dr. Patricia Newton here in Baltimore.
Yes,
you know, we had our illustrious ancestor now, Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Yes. I'm saying a lot of us are dealing with trauma, but we don't go and see counselors. I'm saying it's a thing that we can read the books, we can do all these things and we can quote them, but we don't go and see them. I'm saying come see your brother Minister Ausar. All right. That's still counseling is very important. I'm saying counseling, talking to someone. I'm saying, you know, someone who is trained. I'm saying you could call it Western or whatever. I'm saying if you're dealing with an African-centered counselor, a person coming from an African-centered paradigm, if it's going to, they will uplift you, they will help you, and they will they will help you in the healing process. So with that being said, you spoke about meditation. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I used to be one of those people, right? Let me back up. I've always done meditation. I've always done Tai Chi and martial arts and all these type of things because my father reared me in these things. However, it took me a while to realize the importance of it. Mm-hmm. I used to be like, you know, okay, I couldn't get past some of what I call the spooky stuff. Now, the spooky stuff is okay that if the person wants to get, you know, be out there like that, that's fine. But when you look at it scientifically, even though what we call spooky, if we look at it and we test if it's a correlation or if it's causing some type of response, there's plenty of evidence that supports that there is some property in what is going on in these ancient remedies, these ancient practices that are helping, such as meditation, right? Meditation, different types of meditation. One meditation, and we might call it Eastern thought, you know, but again, if everything came from us and we circumnavigated the globe, then what? Like my father said, he said, no. He said the Asian people they're like grandparents. They preserve our ancient sciences, right? So mindfulness meditation is one of the main things, one of the things I'm heavy on implementing on a daily basis. Everybody familiar with mindfulness?
No. You said, is everyone familiar with who, Minister Ausar?
Is anyone familiar with mindfulness meditation?
Oh, yes. Mindfulness meditation.
Yes. They have transcendental mindfulness. They have they have all different types of ancient practices, you know. But mindfulness is one of the meditations that I really do implement, and I do implement in my practice. And why do I do this? Because people are dealing with trauma. It's to the brain when you're dealing with trauma. You go into what we call, again, the fight and flight response, right? People, and what is that really? You become very anxious, vigilant. You have a hyper state of arousal. So you're easily aroused. So that's when you turn around, you look at somebody and they say, who you looking at? Why are you looking at me like that? When you talk to somebody and you touch them on the shoulder, say, don't touch me. Because, and we don't realize why people acting this way, but they're acting this way because they really have been traumatized. We really have been don't touch me. Yo, who you looking at? That type of thing. That is trauma. So what I'm saying is mindfulness can assist with that. Also, let's go back. When you have been through trauma, and a lot of times you're also depressed. You're thinking about things that happened in the past. You're thinking about what happened yesterday. You're thinking about what happened in your life. You're thinking about what happened when you were a little child. And what happens is when you go around environments, these things, you see people's moods just swing, just change. You be like, what happened to you? What's wrong with you? So now there's a big, I don't want to go over there. Like some people say, I don't want to go over your mother's house, and they don't tell you why they don't want to go over your mother's house, because these things trigger emotions in us when we're dealing with trauma. So we got to find a way to be present. And this is what mindfulness does. See, we're not living in the present moment a lot of times. We're living thinking about the trauma, with living trying to figure out how to protect ourselves from future trauma. The bad thing about people who've been traumatized, they are more likely to be traumatized again. People who have been traumatized, you say, why she keep getting in that trouble? Why she keep, no, excuse me, sisters, don't, I'm going to use this example. Hopefully it doesn't offend anyone, but I know you guys probably have heard of something like this. Someone has been raped, right? And more than likely it's a young lady, because by law, you know, men, it's difficult for men to be raped. Women who have been raped, you say, why she keep getting caught up like that? Likely for someone who has been traumatized to re-experience trauma. It's heavy. So when I look at that, I look at us at that as I'm sorry, I'm tired. I'm getting twisted up in my tongue. I look at us as a people, and I keep saying how we keep getting bamboozled. Like I'm looking at what's going on the internet. Now, of course, I'm not going to say no names, but I'll be straight. Look, people are scamming people, and you want to know why you keep getting scammed.
Right. Talk about it, Minister.
Why you keep getting scammed? Why you keep allowing this? And why is everybody keep coming, doing the same thing over again? Last month, this person was this person's enemy. Now they're this person's friend, right? And then you keep seeing it go around circles and circles and circles. This is a blatant sign of trauma. You understand? Also, what trauma does, it stunts your growth process. It stunts you at a certain level of development, especially if you put drugs on top of that. What we're doing, we're responding as children. We are mostly children. We have grown men and women's bodies, but we are children. And we are emotionally children. So we respond and react and act as if we were at the time that the trauma took place. So when you see some people who just respond and overreact over things, because they're responding like they did when they were a child. They're responding to what has happened to them. And why am I saying mindfulness again? I'm saying mindfulness allows you to live right now in the present. And it also doesn't allow you to keep, it allows you to live in the present, which avoids you from dwelling on the past and really being very anxious about the future. When traumatized people are anxious about tomorrow. Traumatized people are anxious about tomorrow. Traumatized people are they live in yesterday, and this is what happens. And I think if we look at that on a greater scheme of things, us as Black people, African people, Moors, whatever you want to call ourselves, we a lot of times we are allowing this legacy of oppression, what we can and cannot do, and that's a traumatized brain. I say, like Marcus Garvey said, you can do what you will. But the thing is, it's difficult to tell people who have been traumatized and haven't dealt with their trauma that they can do any better because they haven't healed. So how do you heal? Mindfulness allows you to live in the presence. And what is it all about? Mindfulness is really, you just pay attention to what is really going on right now. You can do this by breathing. You can focus on your breath. You can do mindful eating, what they call mindful eating, whereas you can really, like, for example, they have a mindful eating activity where you will look at a raisin, and you'll put the raisin in your hand, and you'll look at everything, the crevices of it. You'll look at it, you'll touch it, you'll roll it around in your hand, and then you'll smell it, and then you'll put it on your tongue and you'll taste it. And then you put it on your tongue and you eat, and then you let it go in your mouth, and you think about the saliva that comes, and you feel all of that comes out. Then you just let it sit there for a while. Then you slowly chew it, and then you feel it going down into your system. Down through your esophagus, all the way down into your stomach and everything. So you pay attention to these small details, and this is one mindfulness activity that is very, very, very enlightening to people when they do it, because you don't get to experience food like other people experience food when you're living in yesterday and you're worried about tomorrow because you're not focused on the here and now. So grapes to you, to someone who to us who have been traumatized, or who always worried about, oh, I got to get the work done for tomorrow, or this what happened to me yesterday. You don't even taste your food. I had one young man who I was counseling, and what he said to me is this: said he had a Snickers bar. Give you an example. Snickers is his greatest. Snickers is his best food. He loves Snickers. But on that Snickers bar, there was a football symbol, and this football symbol reminded him of his father.
Mm.
And when he was eating the Snickers bar, he saw the symbol, and all it did, it took him back to what happened in the past. So he snapped out of it. What psychotherapists call, or counselors or psychologists call, is disassociating. So he really went back into a flashback, so deep into the flashback about his father and what he's experienced from his father, that he didn't even remember eating the Snickers, which he loved. And what he loves, he ate it, but he didn't get the pleasure of eating this Snickers. Because this is what's going on. His mind went back so deep. And when he comes out of it, he snaps out of it, he like, what happened to my Snickers? Why am I perspiring? Why am I sweating? Why is my heart beating? Why are all these things happening? Because we're not living in the present when we're dealing with trauma. So mindfulness is one way that I would suggest people do it, and that's meditation. And I know a lot of people say, oh, meditation is pseudo. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it doesn't have to be pseudo. You don't have to be able to explain why it's working. You probably can't even measure all the reasons why it's working, but science supports that it is working.
Hmm.
And guess where they get this from? Buddhist philosophy, Buddhist practice, Buddhist principles. And then, we say, well, that's Eastern. But when I look, all the same people that start beating up on meditation and mindfulness, they say, oh, that's Asian. But they went to look at hidden colors, and they were so in love and so infatuated when they said Africans roamed and ruled the whole earth, and Buddha was black. They was all with that. Mm-hmm. But but Buddha was black, but then we can't utilize that. So again, what I'm saying was Afrocentric is that which can assist us no matter what, especially since we're the fathers and mothers of civilization.
And let me ask you a question, Minister Ausar, because Sister Riziki and I were talking about this, I think in the chat, but prior to the show. If the objective is to heal, mm-hmm. and if the sole objective is to heal our nation in order to better our race, mm-hmm. does it really matter where we got the technique? So a lot of people will argue, well, meditation, that came from, Buddha. Like you said, that came from the East. But if it works, it works. Mm-hmm. I mean, you get what I'm saying? Like, should we be concerned with where we got the technique from, or should we be more concerned with whether or not it works?
To me, it works, but that takes us to a whole nother point here that I don't want to overlook. And that is the importance of what much research, again, says is very beneficial to, mitigating or even preserving a person who's under this constant war. For example, I grew up in Baltimore, mm-hmm. In the city of Baltimore, around a neighborhood called Old Cater. Mm-hmm. Now, my friends and I, my friends and myself, we saw a lot of things happen. I used to go to bed. Sometimes they'd be shooting outside. They riding around on dirt bikes, shooting, robbing. That's back in the day when I grew up. That's when people had Uzis. They was just doing drive-bys around my neighborhood and all this type of thing, right?
Yep, up top. We used to call it up top.
Yeah, up top. Absolutely up top, right? Yep. So I didn't stay up top, but but the thing is, I was in this neighborhood. In fact, once you live around this neighborhood, when I was growing up, is you become, just by living there, you become a part of the quote unquote gang. And this gang, quote unquote, was called the Oyo and Cater Boys.
Yep.
Right. So what happened is, I realized as I was growing up, especially when I got into my adolescent years, is that there was something different about my household and most of my friends' household. One of the main differences was that I had a father in my house. And I had a mother who stayed home, right? Now that's just a piece of it, because others had that as well. But also what I had that most people didn't have was a father, a Kufi African-centric father, who told me that I came from kings and queens and I can do what I want. I can create. I come from the oldest civilization. And people say, "Oh, this is bullcrap." That is, that is not going to help you do anything. Science itself, and I don't like saying science like some people say, because I'm talking real stuff. I'm saying supports, because people say proves, and proves is incorrect in science. So I'm saying that it proves, or it supports that proper racial socialization, which also Dr. Degruy speaks about in her book, and many others. Dr. Amos Wilson, he may not use that term, and it's a scholar, I can't think of his name, black guy, who just got plenty of journals on racial socialization and the importance of it. So it's very important to, now this is really African-centered, and this is where I'm going to this is really what is mostly, and what is really all about is proper racial socialization. If you don't properly racially socialize your children, what's going to happen to them? The racist society will socialize them. So, as is in post-traumatic slave syndrome, we call it proper racial socialization versus racist socialization. So racial socialization is when you tell your son and your daughter all this stuff we tell our children to prepare them for this hard world out there in this Western society, really, truly efficacious or effective in developing more healthy people. They have done study after study. They have done longitudinal studies. You understand? They have done longitudinal studies on people who have been raised in African-centered households. I don't have the page number of the journal. I will drop it at the lecture, though, Dr. Maya.
Oh man, come on, Minister.
So what I'm saying is we got to kill this whole notion. And one of our dear brothers from the Nation of Islam says, "What is Afrocentricity doing? It ain't doing anything," and all this and all that. But I have to beg to differ, because the research supports, or the data supports, something else. So yeah, who they are. Let them know who the enemy is. Because this prepares them. And what I am saying is, I am a case study of that. And I know plenty of more case studies of that. I grew up in one of the worst neighborhoods, but I'm telling you, I feel like a lotus in ancient Egypt. If we talk about mythology or the whole spiritual system, I feel like the lotus that came up through the muddy waters, untouched, unscathed. You understand what I'm saying? Went to a school in Baltimore called Northern High School, with the name that we call it Northern Get High. The name of the school was Northern Get High. In fact, I went during a time where somebody got killed right in front of school. They were shooting in the hallways. But through proper racial socialization, it allows me to understand that my people have been conditioned to do what they do, and it allowed me to have compassion. And that's heavy. Compassion, empathy, and forgiveness. These are all attributes that you may see in some religious literature, but you also see in our literature. I'm talking about ancient Kemet. So we have to have compassion, empathy, and if those who forgive heal. Because a lot of times when we've been traumatized, we do not know how to let go of the pain. And if we don't let go of the pain, it's going to kill us.
And Mr. Assar, I had to interject just to say that I agree with you that that understanding the problem and understanding, you know, the that we have been oppressed, understanding the trauma that we have endured does give you compassion. It does give you, you know, sympathy and empathy. Because I used to be very, very angry. You know, when I first woke up, I'm gonna say it was Anthony T. Browder who woke me up when I was 16. So we're talking about 15, 16. So we're talking about 1996, 1997. That's when brother Anthony T. Browder woke me up with From the Browder File. I read that book. I was going into the 11th grade, I believe. And I read that book. And after I read that book, I didn't want to perm my hair anymore. And I went through my own little transformation. I started going through my transformation then. And I just became very angry. I was looking around at the condition of our people. You know, I'm looking at the way the sisters conduct themselves. I'm looking at the way the brothers conduct themselves. And I was angry. I was angry with white folks. I was angry with black folks. But it wasn't until I actually learned that we are a sick people. We are mentally, physically, and spiritually sick. Once I understood that, that is when that's when I became more compassionate, more, you know, more sympathetic, more empathetic towards, you know, my own people. I used to be upset. Why is she dressing like this? Why is she talking like this? Why is he walking around, walking down the street looking like that? I mean, I was actually that person, Minister Ausar, and I was angry. I was saying things about our people. I was even using the N-word. Look at these niggas. Look at them. You know, but it wasn't until I learned, I said, wait a minute. You know, our people are really sick. Our people have been through hell. Our people, you know, have been through trauma. And what we're seeing are the symptoms and the effects of that trauma, the symptoms and the effects. And then that's when I gained compassion for our people. So I look at, like, for example, today I was out at Randallstown jogging, and a gym class came outside, and the video's on Facebook. I was talking to some young brothers about sagging. And because I'm looking at the gym class, I see a bunch of brothers lined up, and all I saw was butt cheeks out. Now, the old me, Minister Ausar, I would have got upset. You know, look at the old me would have flipped out. Look at how they look, you know. But after understanding how mentally and spiritually and physically sick we are, I just had compassion for them. It made me just want to talk to the brothers. Brother, come over here. Let's talk about it. Tell me, why do you think it's appropriate, you know, to sag your pants? And we had a long discourse on Facebook about it. Facebook Live. I recorded the young brothers. I talked to them about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. I also talked to them about Minister Louis Farrakhan. And tomorrow I'm supposed to be meeting with those young brothers to give them the book Visions for Black Men by Naeem Akbar. And I promised them $100 a piece if they read it and could prove to me that they read it by answering some of my questions 10 days after I give them the book. But I say all that to say, Minister Ausar, that you made a wonderful point in that, you know, being aware, you know, that we sick, being aware of our issues, it does give you compassion, and it does give you empathy and sympathy for our people. So I agree, 100% in that. It does give you some compassion. So go ahead and continue, Mr. Assar. I just wanted to interject with that and just let you know that I agree. You know, I agree with what you said. It does give you some empathy.
Thank you for giving me a breather. I had a chance to look at the chat board. I see Sister Nara in it. Tan me up, right?
Peace to the sister. She's in the chat room.
Yeah, Sister Nara. Peace and powers to you, sister. And I would agree with Nara on one, but I'll have to talk. I would have to agree, but that mindfulness may not. Now she's talking from a empirical standpoint. She's a CBT counselor with us, counselor clinician. CBT exactly.
Before you go into it, what was her statement and what's your
rebuttal? Thank you for that. I think what she was saying is mindfulness doesn't work for people who have experienced trauma, and there's plenty of research that says both. You know, one supports this, one supports that. But people who are big on CBT, they don't necessarily. They're very, let's say, medicine. They're very scientifically based circle, that type of thing. And I agree with her to a certain point that mindfulness may not be the right approach for everybody who's experienced trauma, but it's plenty of evidence that supports that it is good for a lot of people. Now, with that being said, it may not be the first technique or modality that you introduce, but you will get them to a point where that mindfulness is something that they can handle. For example, somebody who's been raped, right? And if you tell them to think about mindfulness, this is what Sister Nara was speaking about. If you introduce mindfulness, and I thank her for that, if you introduce mindfulness to them, right, and they start meditating, and they haven't meditated at all for all their life, and then that thought comes in their mind, it can trigger that. It can bring up flashbacks and all these type of things, and it might not be the time to do that with that person. She's right about that. However, after going through a process, you will get them to a process where they can be more mindful, because we all need to be more mindful. We all need to be able to reflect and live in the here and now. In fact, I also introduced more than mindfulness meditation. I also spoke about mindfulness eating and mindful walking and mindful other things. Like let's say, what's another way of being mindful? You can also do qigong, where you it's moving meditation. You can do Tai Chi, as we do at the Temple of New African Thought, which we have in our own people who actually participate a whole lot. You got what I'm trying to say? I'm talking about outside of the journals and in the journals. So yes, be done in many ways. Is not just meditation. So yeah, I believe that you can walk them. I know that you can walk them, and I know that they can be mindful in many different ways and many different practices, from Tai Chi to yoga to writing, to mindfully writing, to journaling, mindfully, to driving mindfully, to washing the dishes mindfully, to breathing mindfully, to doing a lot of things mindfully. So yes, mindfulness is not just one way to do it, and we can introduce many different ways to them, and we can do some preliminary things for those who can't handle it, because it is difficult for people who have never been able to keep their mind focused on the here and now to do it. In fact, you have to build up to really meditating, because meditating is difficult for people who have never meditated. 5 minutes feel like a lifetime. So it's something that we work our ways up. To me, that itself is a sign that that we are dealing with trauma, because if you can't meditate for 3 minutes without, with just 3 minutes, and it feel like it's about to kill you, yeah, we gotta do some work. But with that being said, is also drumming, which is an African tradition. Drumming, the rhythm itself, the synchronicity, the in syncness with other people. If you part of a drumming circle, like at the Temple of New African Thought, we have a drumming circle. We have people are welcome to come out and participate in a drumming circle. And in fact, there's some spiritual things in drumming that people may call pseudo, but nonetheless, drumming. There's research out here to support that drumming itself is good for trauma victims, people who actually utilize drugs. And again, people who utilize drugs are, in most parts, have dealt with some type of trauma. Singing. I'm talking about singing together. I know some of us think singing is not something that's very cool anymore. But I'm saying, even in the church, as much as people talk against the church, there's research to support that people who go to these church, Black people, live about 15 years longer who go to church. You understand? So I mean, there's a lot of things that we do that we already do that are working, but what we have to do is find out what is working. Now, part of the problem is this: when you're going through any type of approach of healing, it's going to hurt before you feel better. It's going to get harder sometimes before you get better. You have to, but if you have someone with you, you realize that, wow, I got to go through this process. I got to go through this process. See, if you don't have anyone with you, many times you'll think that you're damaging yourself, but really what you're doing is tantamount to exercising. Your muscles are going to hurt, and that's all a part of the process to get the desired results that you want. All right, so Dr. Maya.
So you said singing is therapeutic, meditating is therapeutic, and you got a point, Minister Assar. I don't care what anybody say. I grew up in the church. My mother's an ordained minister, and you know, it's something about those old hymnals. I'm sorry, even when I go to this day, and I go sometimes, you know, to support my mom when she has to preach, but it's something about those old spirituals. When you start, you know, you just get happy. You feel a connection with the ancestors, and you're singing and you're clapping, and you know, some people are shouting and just doing what they're doing. But it's something about those old hymnals, and I can't explain it to you. You know, they'll put on old hymnals. They'll start singing hymnals from, you know, the early 1900s and stomping their feet and just singing sometimes without any music. And it's just something about singing that does bring some sort of relief or release. So I actually can concur with that. So you said singing. You also proposed meditating. And, you know, when you said that 5 minutes feels like forever, you ain't lying, Minister. So I remember when I first started trying to meditate back in 2013, and I would lay there and I could not control my thoughts. That was the first time that I learned that I'm not in control of my thoughts, in control of my mind. This was 4 years ago. I'm laying on the bed and I said, you know what? I'm going to try to meditate and to silence my thoughts, because I had, you know, a lot going on back then. I was battling a court case. And so a lot of thoughts, you know, were just running through my mind. And I said, you know what? I want to learn the art of silencing and controlling my thoughts. I wanted to silence my thoughts. I wanted to just lay there in peace. And when I laid there, the first time that I did it, I learned that I couldn't do it. I laid there, I tried to put on music. Then I tried to, you know, meditate without any music. And thoughts were just penetrating my mind, going through my mind. And I said, wow, I'm not even in control of my mind. You know what I mean? That was the first time that I learned that I don't even control my thoughts. I mean, you get what I'm saying? Just laying there, trying to silence my thoughts. I learned that I couldn't control my thoughts, you know, and even now I struggle with it. Sometimes just sometimes laying in bed and trying to silence my thoughts. So anyway, so silencing your thoughts and meditating and stuff like that, that's definitely a skill. How do you go about doing that, Minister Ausar? How do you go about properly meditating?
No, there's different ways to meditate. Now, I'm going to speak to mindfulness, right? And the beautiful thing about mindfulness is that it's silencing any of that. The beautiful thing about it is it's really being able to experience all experiencing. So mindfulness is not like, so if you were to do a mindfulness meditation right now, you could say, well, let me experience the sound that's going on. And if you begin to wander off and start to think, you'll say, well, I noticed that I started to think. Just notice what's going on. Once you notice what's going on with yourself, you're already being mindful. You're already meditating. You want to notice how the chair feels beneath you. You want to notice how the air feels against your skin. You want to notice, because you want to live in the present. You want to live right now, because when you are constantly being bombarded, when you're dealing with trauma, you feel like you're being constantly bombarded. And what you do, you're walking around on daily trying to figure out how to avoid feeling this way. So that's when we see people just overreact about things, because what happens is you're hyper vigilant and you're hyper. And so what happens is you feel like you're always on edge. What Dr. Joy Degruy speaks about is being, what's she calling it? Hunger. She says that Black people, they could be having a good time at a party. They could be at a movie theater. We could be having a good time, but we know that some kind of blow up is never far away, because we're dealing with a lot of each other who are on edge. Like what is this? Who was it? Cedric the Entertainer or Bernie Mac or I don't know. One of them on Kings of Comedy said, we handle things a little different than white people. I'm not going to try to stereotype us, but the joke has some relevancy in it. He said white people, when they come to the stadium, if someone took their seat, they're like, "Excuse me, can I? I think that's my seat." Whereas we walk before we even get there, we like, "I wish an N would have my seat."
That's true.
You see what I'm saying? So because and another thing is dealing with trauma, I believe we begin to be addicted to drama. So drama spelt like trauma. We begin to be addicted to drama. Why? Because drama allows us to feel alive. Drama allows us to feel alive.
Hold on, but I gotta agree with you, Minister Ausar, because I don't want to say any names. Look, I'm gonna take your approach. I don't want to say any names, but we look at a lot. I hear a lot of brothers and sisters say, "Man, Dr. Oya, I'm so tired of the drama in the conscious community." But they can tell me about every video. So and so put a video out, about so and so, and so and so put a video out on so and so. But you're tired. You're saying that you're tired of the drama, but you tune into it. You look at some of these videos, and I don't click on them because for one, I don't want that poison in my system. Two, I'm not going to pay you for it because I know that when I click, I know that these people get paid based on viewership. So I think as YouTube pays you, they have these ads running during a video, and YouTube will pay, a couple of cents or whatever per view. So A, I don't want the poison in my mind. B, I don't want to pay you for the foolery. So, but what I will do is go to the page and just look at the number of views. And what I've noticed is that when there's a video, like this video that we're doing right now on a discussion on healing, nobody cares. Nobody cares. This video, we probably get about 150 views. Not that we're doing it for viewership. I'm just trying to make a point, Minister Assar, that no one cares. But yet, if when you go to some of these videos and you got so-and-so calling out so-and-so responding to so-and-so's call out and so-and-so and so-and-so, these videos have 40,000, 50,000, and 60,000 views. Like you just said, drama. People are addicted. People who have had traumatic experiences are addicted to drama. They are. It's a fact. I mean, you got people who live for this stuff. They share the videos. Go on my timeline right now, Minister Assar. You won't see Dr. Ma'at sharing a video of so-and-so calling out so-and-so. I don't have time for it because right now I'm trying to heal. And you can't heal poison in your system, putting poison in your mind. But like you said, Minister Assar, a lot of brothers and sisters, man, they are addicted to the drama. You look at some of these brothers' YouTube pages, I'm talking about within a few hours, they have 30,000 views, 20,000 views. If they go live, they may have 800, 900 people at a time.
Right.
But then you say you don't support drama. No, I don't support any drama. I don't support drama. I don't advocate drama. I'm not for it. But you tune into it. You tune into it. You click the button. Absolutely. You click the like button or the thumbs down button, or you're commenting and you're sharing videos and you putting up posts. You like trauma. You like drama. Now, the $1 million question is why? Why are you addicted to trauma? Drama. I'm sorry, I said trauma. Why are you addicted to it?
You answered it.
But go on.
You answered it with
you said I already answered it. Right.
Yeah. And I apologize. I wanted to hear from the sisters as well. I didn't want to, what do you call, monopolize the time here. But yeah. Again, Sister Riziki.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with what you said. And just to add another piece to it, like even one of the reasons why I got into energy work was understanding like our subconscious mind has a lot to do with like our own energy or spirit or whatever that we put out to the world. And if we're not healing that subconscious mind, like, even down to your cells. And I'm sure you're aware of epigenetics in their studies on how certain things are passed down through the generations, but healing even on a cellular level, And one of the things we go over is this phenomena, if you will, of echoes, to where there could be like a certain time of year you experience this trauma, and this is what your body has imprinted in its memory. And so then when a certain kind of cycle or timing comes around, or a similar event happens. Hello.
Yeah, I hear you. We hear you, Minister Ausar. Minister Ausar. Let me let him know that we hear him.
Oh yeah, I didn't know he was trying to speak all this time. All right.
No, he I'm gonna let him know I can hear him. I can hear you.
Was I breaking up or him?
No, I don't know. For some reason he lost sound. So he can hear himself, he can't hear us. See, watch this. Minister Assar, can you hear me? Yeah, he can't hear us, but we can see him and we can hear him. For some reason he can't hear us. But Sister, he just logged out. He'll probably log back in. But Sister Riziki, there he is. There he goes.
I see so.
But Sister Riziki, you were saying that
yeah, I was saying how, like, yeah, again, we talk about these echoes, and in my course, and even in life, like I teach, you know, everybody should keep a journal, because again, when you experience certain traumatic experiences or whatever, your body remembers this in its cell and in its memory, and there could be another event or another time period that, you know, comes around again where your body remembers that memory, and then you wonder why you all of a sudden have a funky attitude. You know, it's like your subconscious mind is remembering things, your DNA, your cell is remembering things, and we got to understand who we are. Like, we're just physical manifestations of what exists energetically. Like, when I started looking at my life like that, I'm literally a physical manifestation of how I am energetically. I had to start living my life from that kind of perspective. So when the brother is talking about mindfulness meditation, it's about reprogramming your mind to positive things. One of the mindful meditations I did was like I don't want to say like a past life regression, not like another lifetime, but in a sense, I had to go back to childhood trauma and relive that experience to reprogram myself. You know, people, we want to just forget about things that happen and suppress it, and that's why we walking around here dysfunctional. It's like you put all of these things in this jar, and all of a sudden it's going to pop. And so again, you know, we got to understand who we are physically is an energetic manifestation. That's even down to the sickness in your body.
Right. Sister Riziki, you just stole all my thunder. No, no. Actually, that I want that to be, that is good, because what people will call that is pseudo, however, scientifically supported. So what I'm saying is, in a lot of journals, that what she's saying is trauma, you know, is your body remembers that, absolutely, you know, and people say we're not physically enslaved anymore. I like to posit that we are, because our brains are physical physical things. So because of Sister Riziki speaking about, you know, our mind needs to be reprogrammed, she's talking about the neural pathways that have been created over year after year after year after year. So now when we try to respond differently, we don't respond differently, even though we know we got the information, because our brain has been wiring this way for so many years that we automatically respond like we don't want to respond. We read the book, we know the book says this, we know that is happening, but why do I keep doing this? Why do I keep acting out? I know I'm not supposed to do that now. Why do I keep doing this? Because we have to go through the practice of really rewiring those neural pathways, as Sister Riziki said, and that could be done through meditation, that could be done through drumming, that could be done through communal activity. We got to get to that one. Communal activity is one of the most important things. Communal, what I mean is not necessarily over this internet either. You know what I'm saying? I'm talking about real, where you can touch people. I'm saying where you can hug people, You know what I'm saying? Where you can be in a room and be lifted by each other's vibes. Now but you have to understand that's going to be a process is going to be difficult when you're traumatized, but you have to endure it. Been traumatized, you don't like people. And around people, they look at me funny. You know, what was she saying? You know, all this type of thing. How did he do that? Oh no, he didn't. You know, all that type of thing. That is a part of the that is what we do when we've been traumatized. We go into situations and we leave that situation and we go to another one and then we go to another one and we keep blaming things on other people and not really looking at like, how can the whole world be bad?
Right. That's right.
And you keep going. You go from Islam to more science to African Senate back to the church. You know, we be trying a lot of different things. You understand? But at the end of the day, we don't know how to be communal. And the only way we can deal with this is through a group or communal type activity, because that's when you start seeing people's sickness. People aren't deemed sick until their relationships are starting to suffer. You understand what I'm trying to say? So I don't care what people say when they say, "Oh, the white man caused it." I'm with it. He caused it, right? But I say the white man could have created the flu, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to take the antidote. You see what I'm trying to say? Right. So, but we do have to realize that through that racial, I want to press upon the importance of really realizing that proper racial socialization will give you the ability to understand what's going on out here, why we acting the way we are, which should give you a greater ability to deal with the stuff that we see out here as sick, or which we call foolishness. In fact, it was something I wanted to say, but I just lost my thought, because you were saying something earlier, Dr. Maya, that was really key to I think you were saying about oh yeah, that's what it is. We are addicted to drama. Absolutely, we're addicted to drama, and the reason why we are addicted to this drama, as you asked the question, and I said you pretty much answered it, is because when you've been traumatized and you live in this way and live in that way, things that excite you really bring you to life in that moment. Like, so for example, people who have been to war, if you notice, people like, let's say people who have been to Vietnam, a lot of those people drive fast cars and they drive motorcycles and they do all types of things to excite themselves, because this is when they feel alive. So that's when that's why they're revving up their engines. That's why they're doing a lot of things. That's why they're driving fast, because what is it called? The adrenaline rush allows them to feel alive. So that's why when you go in the community, I like to share with people that's in the hood, or us in the hood, we like when something popping off. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like you said, it makes you feel alive. Mm-hmm. It does it makes you feel alive, because you're used to the trauma. Like you say, you're used to the excitement. Mm-hmm. And people do what they're used to. You know what I mean? People do, and they do what they're used to. Mm. I can understand that. And also, what I wanted to comment on something Sister Riziki said, because I saw this in myself. In 1993, I lost, from 1993 to 1994. Now, remember, I told you that I'm an 80s baby. I was born in 81. So 93, I was 12. So in 1993 to 1994, there was a lot of trauma in my family. And this was the trauma. We lost a lot of people in our family. The first person that we lost was my uncle. We lost him July of 93. Then I lost my brother November of 93. Now I want you to let's do the math. July, November. So you're already doing the math. So July of 93 lost my uncle. And I ain't talking about a distant uncle or old uncle. I'm talking about an uncle at the time who was probably about 31 and 32. An uncle that you saw every Sunday at Sunday dinners. An uncle that was there for all of your birthdays, Christmas, all the holidays. So lost him. Then in November, lost my brother, who had me by 11 years. We're 11 years apart. Lost him. And then in February of 94, lost my other uncle, who was 29. So one person was about 31, 32. That was the first uncle. My brother was 23 at the time. And my uncle, Timmy, he was 29 when he passed. So these are young folks. Like I'm 36 now, and looking back, I'm like, wow, we lost babies in our family. They were babies at the time. So Sister Riziki said that when you experience trauma, She said that sometimes, you know, you wonder why your energy is off at a certain time of year or whatever. I noticed that in the fall, I get a little depressed.
Mm-hmm. It's that
you know, yeah, during the fall, I'm just, a lot of things, you know, a lot of things transpired, you know, during the fall and the winter. And I'm kind of, I don't want to use the word depressed because I don't want to claim it. But, you know, I just feel a little down around that. You know, I'm not very energetic. Summertime comes, spring, midway through the summer, I'm okay. But when we get into the July months, August, I know fall is coming around. My energy is off. Yeah. But that goes back to that trauma of being a little girl sitting at a funeral every damn 3 months, you know, losing loved ones. So I actually had abandonment. I mean, I don't want to call it abandonment issues. What would the word be, Sister Raziki? When you feel like you're going to lose something. I was one of those people. Like one of those
issues. That's okay to hear.
Okay, so that was okay. I just want to make sure I was using, you know, yeah, I had
like
those,
it was losing people out of your life or just things?
Not things, people. Okay. I had a phobia of losing people. Like I had a phobia of change.
Yeah, that's right. That's
right. I had a phobia. I had a fear of change because, and I realized as I got older that it was connected to those losses that I experienced at the age of 12 through 13, from 93 to 94. Yeah. So when like, so for example, when one of my aunts got married, I felt like her husband was taking something from me. I know that might sound crazy, but I felt like she was being taken away. And I remember saying to her, "Daggone, Auntie, I hope once you get married, things won't change." My buddy Mike, when he was getting ready to get married, when we left college, one of my close friends, I was like, man, I hope, I just felt like his wife was taking something from me. Mm-hmm. So I had to learn to get over that, and I got over it in my 20s. But, I just wanted to concur with Sister Raziki that you do, your energy is off when things happen, at a specific time or whatever, when you experience those things. Like, so for example, like Brother Minister Ausar said earlier, like with a rape, you may, if a woman got raped by a certain guy or type of guy, she may be in the company of another guy who reminds her of this guy and gets angry with this guy for no reason. It's like, get what I'm saying? So I totally agree with what you brothers and sisters are saying, on this panel.
And to bring up, to piggyback one more thing, which is why, healing on all levels, even spiritual, is important, is because just like you said, some people may just all of a sudden get an attitude out of nowhere. And when you understand who we are, like, yeah, we're a physical manifestation of who we are energetically, but we're also comprised of the DNA of my mom and my dad. So what trauma they went through, what's their attitude problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes some of these things can manifest in you, you know what I'm saying? And you really don't know where it's come from. And we there has been a generation that's born to correct the wiring that's in our families. Like, there's always this one child who's born into this family who just feels that I gotta change the dynamic because they all dysfunctional and I can't have these children until, whatever the case may be. Mm-hmm. And so again, we gotta understand, like, rather if you call it pseudo or whatever, but we gotta change on a mental, emotional, spiritual, emotional, and cellular DNA level. Like, it's so important. And when we talk about holistic healing, and that's why I said we have to understand who we are holistically, not just physically, but energetically. And no matter how you choose to do that, there were ways our ancestors had a means to look into the spirit or the soul of a child and just, tell certain things. So, that's just the deal.
And again, I like to add on to what Sister Raziki said, Dr. Maya, and you. And from a scientific point of view, it doesn't matter if I agree or believe with what Sister Raziki just said about looking into the soul and all this other thing. I cannot have to believe that, but realize that something is working. You understand? It's showing efficacy here. Like what is drumming? It's nothing, you know, it's doing nothing. But then if we do an experiment, we realize that drumming is doing something. We realize that singing is doing something. We realize that coming together does something. Touching. I don't believe in Reiki. You know, when we come, energy does something for people. Even if you don't believe in all this type of stuff, but you can, this stuff is verified scientifically. I'm not saying go out there with Pharaoh, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to say his name, but nonetheless, I didn't mean to say his name, but I'm not saying go out there with him, you understand? Because some of the stuff that he and even some of the other brothers, they say foolishness. But what I am saying is, and it's not even our culture that they're speaking of, but, you know, again, Sister Riziki spoke about emotional processing earlier, and how we run from what has happened. And as long as we run as individuals and never fully process that what took place, we'll be off. We have to really process those things that we've been through, because we don't process these things. Our vision is totally off when we look at the rest of the world. Our vision is off. So now we perceive things to be a threat, and they're not really a threat. So emotional processing is very, very, very important. And this also is, let's say, supportive of what you said, Dr. Maya, when you say when you go to the church. One of the most powerful things about the church, and we're going to say African tradition anyhow, because the church, African people or Black people have their own thing that they brought to the church that we have to acknowledge. You understand? And that though you can go to an Anglican church and it's not the same thing. When we going through all this emotional release, this is really we processing a lot there, and there is data that supports that you people who go through that type of process live at least 15 years long in the African community and less than others. And one of the things we do well is emotionally process when we go through our rituals and things of that nature. Now, abandonment, that's a heavy thing. Abandonment, people feel abandoned a lot. That's a major thing. And when you feel abandoned, at some point, Dr. Mike, to add on to what you were saying, you can begin to create situations where people will leave you because you don't want them to leave you, so you're gonna make them leave you. You understand? So what you do is you're like, you're not gonna walk out my life, so I'm gonna make it hell. I'm gonna make you walk out my life. And in fact, I'm gonna put you out of I'm gonna make life a living hell for you because I don't want you to be the next person to walk out my life. Now, when you really understand this, when you listen to Mary J. Blige, you'll start crying, because Mary J. Blige, all her songs about abandonment. She has one about, she said, and when she's speaking to the man, say, honey, or something, I can't remember. Don't get me to start singing. But nonetheless, she speaks about her, her having daddy issues. You understand? And she apologizing to the man for all that pain and abandonment and all. See, the reason why she's fighting, because she feels like that someone else is going to walk out her life again, like her father did, or like one of my clients told me. That he always wanted to know why his mother left him for crack. You understand? Why did my mother leave me for crack? Now, this is the extent as a child that he can believe, that he only know this is what he really thinks happened. My mother left me for crack, not realizing that there's a system that was created that ran his mother to utilizing crack. And now he believes his mother left him merely because she wanted crack. And now in his life, guess what he did? Crack out because he wanted to know what his mother left him for. In fact, so again, he in all his relationships, when we're dealing with trauma and people who've been abandoned and all that, and a lot of times we go through these relationships and we're on guard, we're on defense, and we're waiting for the next person to leave us. And many times, because of our guardedness, we falsely accuse people. We overreact. We do all types of things that really runs people away unconsciously. So abandonment is a real situation in our communities and in our organizations. Why can't we keep people in organization? Because no one has really stayed there with them. That's how they feel. At least my father left me. My mother left me. In fact, that becomes the solution to how they deal with life. If this gets hard, I'm running. I go and I get in an intimate relationship, I'm running. Like, okay, I had a baby. I can't look. In fact, but you got to think of the psychology here. Some people leave not because they want to hurt. They leave because they think they're helping. There's men and women out here that leave relationships, children in them, because they believe I'm a burden. And because I'm a burden, I'm going to get out of your way. I'm going to get out of your way. You understand? Because what I'm saying, this stuff is not simple. Is much more complex than what we try to look at things. And that's why, as Sister Riziki spoke about, we have to rewire our brain. This is the thought that we have in our organizations, you know, and the people that's in our organizations. My father left me. My mother left me. There must be something in leaving. So I'm going to leave, because I'm getting out of the way so that you can flourish. In fact, don't even realize that because you left a whole ton of responsibility. We would have done much better with you because you feel like you're getting out of the way. I've heard so many brothers and sisters say, you know what? I'm not going to bring them down. But the problem is they never consulted with the individual that they think they're going to bring down. So man, like, I'm going to get out. I'm not, I'm trying to deal with it, but I'm dealing with so much stuff. I'm going to have to work on me. And the sister like, look, bro, I mean, I'm here for you. But the brother like, I don't want to bring you down. And then he leaves, and she don't know why he left her, because his daddy left him. His daddy was beating on his mommy. And now all he can do is leave. He leaves this relationship, goes to that relationship. And then he said, look, I'm something wrong with me. I got to get myself together. But the sister like, look, I'm willing to work with you. I'm willing to work with you. And that's what he needs, someone or some people that's willing to work. You're not going to come in perfect, but if the person is understanding, if the person has patience, we need to stay in those relationships, because we become addicted to running. We become addicted to when we feel abandoned, abandonment become our solution to how we go about life.
That's powerful. That's powerful, Minister Ausar, because I remember being a person that would say, lose my number in a heartbeat. And especially I was one of those women, like, you know what, lose my number, click,
Right, and you would have so you have the same kind of, well, we already talked about that, but those personality dysfunctions that we were talking about before, how, people who have a fear of abandonment or rejection or lack of control, whatever, develop these personality dysfunctions that spill over to other areas in life. And this is why I'm a really big believer in, our spirituality, our healing has a lot to do with economics, going back to these relationships building again. Being able to maintain a partnership, being able to maintain good customer service, the pride that you have in yourself and in your business, all of these things come from, our personality dysfunctions and how we're interacting with each other. So, I mean, yeah, it's very important to understand which dysfunction we are working with and be mindful of it.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sister Cheryl, Sister Monica, I haven't heard your voices all, during the entire discussion. And please give us your input, sis. What are your thoughts?
Well, no, I was just listening, but it is very difficult sometimes when you've had certain issues in your life to separate what you're doing with relationships, and like we keep saying, it does go into economics. The way you act on jobs is just really, really, telltale that someone is broken, basically. Yes. Just by the way they interact with other people. My thing was, when in my early 20s and all that, I was always trying to help a brother out, as y'all know, hoping that I can change that man and, just make him a little better. And, and sometimes you even look at yourself like, okay, is it me? Because I keep getting these broken men, and, it's told that you attract what you are, So I was badly broken in my early 20s and didn't know how to really interact with, in a good relationship, so to speak. It was always something going on, you know, drama.
Sister Monica. Sister Monica, are you there, sis?
Yes, I got a bad
What
connection. Yes.
What are your thoughts, sis, on what you heard, sis?
My thoughts is that we definitely have to take some time to actually we definitely got to understand ourselves first. Take some time to cultivate and understand that everything is you have to take a moment and assess everything situation for situation, point for point. And my philosophy has always been to always have some type of mentorship or coach or someone you can go to so that you can talk to, so that you don't hold stuff in and it's lingering and it's lasting, and then it folds into something else. And so then it becomes a mental and a healing issue. And then if you take it point for point and moment for moment, then you won't lash into things later on. So for example, if you've dealt with some traumatic things in the past and you've never had the time to heal from that, then in your adulthood it's going to actually become an eye opener, or it's going to bring back some type of reminder. And so instead of actually dealing with that, you're actually going to be reacting to something new when it's stemmed over from something from the past. So what I like to tell people, or I like to encourage people, one, when you get involved with reading certain material, it will help you understand how to heal that particular process. If you don't, things that you're unaware of that's going to come up and it's going to actually put you in a certain space, and it's either you're going to isolate yourself and you won't be able to deal with it, or it's going to be something that's going to shape your character and your behavior, and you're never going to be able to come out of it. And so everything that my brother said is definitely a must, or everything everybody else said. And I think as individuals, we just have to sit back, and you really have to learn to do it on your own. And don't feel like no healing response is a unknown response or something that can't be done or unattainable. And it takes time. And I just think that people have to learn how to embrace time more, as opposed to rushing a process that took years to develop, so to speak. That's my thoughts.
No, that was beautiful, Sister Monica. That was beautiful. But I know that we're winding down. It's already 2:50, 2:49. And so I know we've been going strong for about an hour and 30 minutes, 40 minutes now. And so I know that we're winding down. Any last thoughts, Minister Assar? I know that you got the event coming up on the 10th. I will be in the building. Are you live streaming this event, Minister Assar? Will it be live streamed on the Conscious Black Business Network, or what's up, Minister Assar?
I haven't decided. You can check. They can check it out though at Conscious CBBN. Dennis Assar Winkler. On that date, that's on the 10th. You may see something pop up. You may not. One thing I don't want to do is discourage people from coming in person. So that's why I'm leaving it there.
I got you. I understand. But yeah, I know that it's going to be a very powerful event. I'm going to come out. I'm going to bring my family out for it. And this is a much needed event in Baltimore. We got to heal. And I love the message. I love the theme. I hope that you go into the white oppression, because I know a lot of Black folks are saying we're not oppressed by white people. And, what are you talking about? That's a thing of the past. That happened, 200 years ago, almost 200 years ago. What are you talking about? So I really hope during the presentation that you really get into the trauma that we've experienced, as African people, and what they've done then and what they're doing now. So I hope that, just to give some folks some the backstory on the trauma. So I hope that you go in on that, and, and I already know that you're going to go in on the healing piece. But so I'm looking forward to the presentation. I think it's very needed, and I know that it's going to be powerful. So I will be in the building on June the 10th at 3221 Bel Air Road. Doors open at 3:30 p.m. Let me show the flyer one more time. Or if you could share your screen, Minister Assar, that would be great. You want me to do it?
Oh, my technology is limited today.
Cool. I'm going on your Facebook page right now. And let me hit share. Get my little personal stuff off of here. All right, here we go. So let me share my screen so people can see the flyer. I'm also going to post the flyer Facebook page, so it will also be there. So this is Minister Assar's Facebook page. It's under. You don't mind me putting this up there, Minister Assar, right?
No,
Okay.
I don't have a problem.
So this is his Facebook page. Dennis Assar Winkler, Minister Assar, on Facebook, and as you can see, he has the flyer as his profile pic. So this is the flyer: white oppression, Black trauma, and Afrocentric approach to healing. It's going, doors open at 3:30 p.m. Saturday, June the 10th. Location, Temple of New African Thought, 3221 Bel Air Road. Quick question, Minister Assar. Are there any other temples, African-centered temples in Baltimore? Because I believe this is the first. I know that PLM has their thing, and I know that they are like an African-centered group. But prior to PLM or prior to TNAT, I don't think there are many African temples in Baltimore.
I think they have the Earth Center. The brother who does the Dogon, who does the Dogon stuff. I think they have something. I've never been there before. They had a few other things, but at this moment, like we're probably like the only one because we have a location. Location is consistent, like a storefront.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we gotta support you. I'm gonna support you. I'm there. So I guess between now and the 10th, we got to start doing more shows and really pump out these flyers to get a huge turnout, because I'm telling you, I believe that those seats should be filled. I know this is going to be a powerful presentation. And so family, if you're in Baltimore City, if you're in the DMV area, Maryland, DC, Virginia, Philly, come down. New York, come down. Come out to this wonderful event. It's going down. Not this Saturday, but next Saturday. Doors open at 3:30 p.m. Do you have any last words, Minister Assar, for the viewers?
Yeah, I like to say two things because I know we said a lot. And what I want to stand out to people is one, the main processes to healing from this trauma, preparing our youth, our next generations, the generations to come, is through a proper racial socialization process. I can get deep into those words and how they don't make sense and all that type of thing, but you guys understand what I'm saying. Proper racial socialization process. Also, lastly, I want to say that we can never discount what the group, because a proper African-centered approach or African perspective to healing does not negate or the group. In African traditional societies, it's always been the clan, the group, the tribe. We've healed each other, and our problems are with one another. You can't go into the closet and do it by yourself. We have to do it with other people, living people who have a heart that pumps blood through their body. You can't supplement touch. You can't supplement love. You can't supplement even being stressed out, because we need to learn how to deal with the stress, because stress is a natural part of life and is necessary. So the collective process is definitely where we got to do it at. Peace.
I like that. The collective process. Sister Riziki, that's your lane right there. You always talk about healing and
and touch. I'm so glad he mentioned touch. I really am, because you know where I'm about to go with it, baby.
I already know. Are there any brothers and sisters in the chat room who have a question for Minister Ausar? Better yet, if they do, I can put the link in the chat really fast. Sister Naya, you're welcome to join us, sis. I just put the link in the chat for brothers and sisters who want to join the Google Hangout and ask some questions, to our guest, Minister Ausar. So I just put it in the chat. That's the Google Hangout link. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 4 slots available. So if you guys, want to join us and, come on in and ask questions, please do it. Don't be shy. I see we got Sister Naya in the building. I see Sister D. Sister D, she said, I read about that, Naya. So they were going back and forth. Brother Calvin, Sister Lessa Darcy, Gab, 2017 BAM. Sister Rochelle. Does anyone have a question? I see Sean P. Do the Knowledge Radio. Brother Knowledge Born Allah. All right, are there any questions? I don't see it. I see Sister Raziki, I see your response to different things, but I don't see, people said this was a good build. Someone said awesome work. Sister Naya gave us some hand claps. Thank you so much, family, for joining us. If there aren't any questions, we will end the Google Hangout. Are there any questions? For Sister Raziki, can you check the chat room for me one more time?
Yeah, as far as the chat works, Ayana said something, that's the message that needs to be heard. I'm not sure what she was talking about, but okay. No, other than that, I think that there wasn't really questions. It was just certain points. African-centered education or social system or construct would eliminate all of these psychological conditions.
I agree with that. Who made that statement?
That was by Naya Amara.
Oh yeah, I agree with that. Definitely African-centered education, absolutely.
Yeah, and then most African Americans have attachment abandonment issues. And you know what? That's a good point I want to bring up real quick, because we learned this like just in our studies that like even on an individual level, we have our certain issues, but as cultures, like, you know, even though I'm not European, Asian, or Native American, maybe, I don't know. But the point is that each culture have their own overall personality dysfunction based on their cultural history. So, you know, like we were talking about before, it's just layers to this. Okay. People was asking about my head wrap. That has nothing to do with the show. And that's it. Yeah, that's it. But everybody's just like, yes, good show, and we need to talk more about healing. Oh, yep. And where are some good sources to go or research for more African-centered healing?
Mr. Assar?
Oh, say that again. I'm sorry.
What other sources would you recommend for techniques, if you will, on African-centered healing?
So now that is the real truth is this. There is a lot of information on the problem, and that is necessary, right? And I think it is our generation that's going to bring these the techniques in. However, with that being said, in general, right, the overall what the data says again is African-centered or proper racial socialization process is the best guard and defense, right? As someone just stated in the chat board. So I'm gonna just throw a few books up, right? So we got Afrocentricity, right? We can start with the information because things start on a cognitive level. We have to start on a cognitive level, right? And then once we get things in the cognitive level, then we may be able to we can embody it. But things start on a cognitive level, right? So Afrocentricity, right? Dr. Joy Degruy, right? She has some things in it. She has some healing process. Dr. Joy Degruy, post-traumatic slave syndrome. Dr. Amos Wilson is a must-have. The falsifications of African consciousness, Eurocentric history, psychiatry, and the politics of white supremacy. Dr. Amos Wilson. Psychopathic racial personality. Dr. Bobby Wright. Because we got to start on the cognitive level first, right? But he got all his books. Again, Dr. Amos Wilson, Understanding Black Adolescent Male Violence. Now, this book is heavy because it's about trauma, but this book is not exclusively for men and is not exclusive for adolescents. This book is real in our community. It just happened to be he wrote this book for let's say males, young males. I'm going to throw that one down. I don't really know about that, brother. But Dr. Naim Akbar just came up with another book, New Visions for Black Men. Dr. Marimba Ani, to be African. I'm sorry, I said all these brothers, right? But Dr. Marimba Ani, you got to get with her, right? Dr. Marimba Ani. And okay, again, Dr. Akbar. So nonetheless, get some books. Hopefully those the books I just mentioned right there. I got plenty more down in the library. Okay, of course. Okay, well then we got Brother Renuka Rashidi. Get some of his literature, and then we have here. I have books over here. God mercy. Dr.
You worse than me, Minister.
Asa G. Hilliard, gotta get with him. The Reawakening of the African Mind. You got what I'm trying to say? And he talks about how deep thought, as Sister Nara was stating, you have to deal with this thing on a cognitive level. And to deal with something cognitively, we have to be capable of thinking deeply. Then again, as I started off the show, Breaking the Chains of Psychological Slavery. If any of these books work for you, that'll be a good start. But other techniques, you have go to journals. If you can subscribe to journals, or you can go to your library, like your local library, you can go into academic journals and you can find out techniques. But again, I'll go over. Hold up, did I have it? Drumming. Where can you find out techniques? Look for journals. I can't really think of anything off the top of my head that really has a lot of techniques in it for just African-centered healing. Or give me can I give my information?
Oh yeah, please do.
All right, so so I can better answer, because it's not all in one place, but all that right there is a good start. But you can give me a call at 443-333-2970, and you could also hit me up. Look me up, Dennis Assar Winkler, on Facebook. Yeah,
that'll work.
Yeah,
that'll work. All right, family. So we're gonna close out now. Any last words from the sisters? Sister Cheryl, Sister Monica, Sister Raziki, any last words?
Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in and hanging out with the sisters with the Tea Talk. We had a great time today. So peace to people who are watching in the archives. And hey, listen, don't be hesitate to hit us up in the inbox if you need some help and support, especially my sisters.
No doubt.
Peace and love, people. Thanks again for watching. Log on to my site and Facebook page for some upcoming events, and see y'all next week.
Sister Cheryl, I didn't forget about you, sis.
Very informative show. Loved it.
Excellent. All right, family. So we'll see you next Wednesday, same time. Sis, do y'all have any topics? Because I was just getting ready to ask him before he got out of there. Minister Ausar got out of there kind of quick. But I was getting ready to ask him, are all of us capable of reform? So we talk about healing, right? And we say we need to heal. But is every human being capable of healing? Like, are there some people that you're like, yo, at the end of the day, this person is who she is, or this brother is who he is? When do we draw the limit? Like, is all behavior capable of being reformed? Like, or I mean, you get what I'm saying? Is all behavior capable of reform?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Sometimes you're so far gone that there's no coming back. So I think, no, everybody can't be reformed.
Yeah, so then it's like, well, what do you do with those brothers and sisters? Like, I just, he got out of there, and I'm getting ready to text his butt, but I won't text him because it'll be a whole nother show. But I'm just curious to know, like, is all behavior, can all behavior be reformed, or can all human beings capable of reforming, of being reformed? And I agree with you, Sister Cheryl, that no. So then what do we do with that element of brothers and sisters who don't want to reform? Or, what do we do with that? So anyway, go ahead, Sister Monica.
Oh, I was going to say is we don't become an enabler to negative behavior or bad behavior. We keep them in check and on the spot corrections. However, we allow them to stay in their space, but we don't allow their ability to not embrace the whole healing process to be an excuse for not doing better.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes any sense. Some people will hide behind that fear situation is of not coming out of or being healed or getting into their highest self, so to speak. So we don't allow it, because some people also use it as a manipulator.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think we should become enablers and allow them to continue to manipulate us into their world, but then we keep the standard and we don't become enablers to their fear, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, so we got to get together, you know, and on Facebook, you know, in our little chat, and just grind out and come up with a title for next week. So we'll figure it out. Until then, peace and power, family. Thank you for tuning in. Meet us right here, same spot, Tea Talk with the sisters. See you next Wednesday. Peace and power.
Peace.